everybody. Just a quick little disclaimer. The views and opinions that are expressed by the presenters are of the presenters and the presenters only, and they do not necessarily represent the views, opinions, or strategies of the USPS or the NRLCA. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and if you have a question or concern, please contact your assigned union representative. Thanks. Welcome back, everybody. This is episode number 156. Is that right, Josh? 156?
Yeah,
I thought
sounds good to me.
I thought we could kind of do like another episode about the order of consideration with more of a PTF emphasis. And so we'll leave this one like a little bit of a shorter episode and just primarily focus on that. But how has the last week been for you, Josh?
Uh, Pretty good, I suppose. I've actually a couple weeks ago I actually got mattress trained. I don't remember if I mentioned that or not. So it's hit or miss if I get in one. The last 2 days I've been in one, and the air conditioning is nice. Um, I guess I could take it or leave it. Working out the kinks on being in that compared to an LLB is still a struggle, but I'm getting through the route, so that's a plus. How's your week been?
My week's been okay. I actually personally, I have a mattress and I love my mattress. I think I've said that a lot. I'm kind of one of the few that do like them. But yesterday and then again today, I actually had to call out because I have uh, my face is swollen. So if you hear me kind of mumbling a little bit, it's because my jaw is all sore and I have like an infection like just below my ear. It's not an ear infection, and I'm getting better. So I'm a little more mumbly than I normally am tonight, but I've been okay, I guess. It is hotter than hell here. I'll say that. So I feel for those who have been in the LOVs in our easy bake ovens that we have. I think heard somebody put like a egg on a manhole cover somewhere and fried it like a city carrier because it's so just dang hot. Um, but
It is mailbox lasagna season.
yeah, mailbox lasagna. Yeah, yeah. So I've just been kind of chugging water and trying to. I have a personal fan that I bought off of Amazon. It's like a Shark. I know, like a Shark Flex Breeze. I know some people get those Ribo portable fans that are rechargeable. And that fan, I wanted it last summer, and I procrastinated getting it. And then this year they came out with another model of it, and they had like increased the battery life of it. And so I buckled down and bought it in May, and it's been a life changer, game changer. It has like a mister in it, and I wish, like, I know those Ribo fans have like a pump that mists you a little bit more, and so they're easier to the water lifespan of it is a little bit more extended, but this one works. I'm in a mattress at least, but just having that extra little bit of cooling power. I don't have central air in my house, so we have like one of those not the window air conditioners, but like the ones that have the tube that go into the window. And so my living room's really cooled off, but the rest of my house is like on fire. So I know I was telling somebody is we're going to be in Texas next month for National, but somebody was like, I can't wait or I'm already dreading walking from my vehicle in the parking garage to the building. But then we'll be freezing
Yes.
inside there. We'll be what is it,
Yep.
like a meat freezer in there? Hopefully.
Yep. Yep. Someone asked. Someone asked me why I want to go to Texas August, and I said I'd rather be in an air-conditioned conference room
Yeah.
than here in an
The
LLV.
Then your easy bake oven.
Yes. Oh. Speaking of, mine is not on the parking lot anymore, so it might have gone to get its new engine.
Oh, good.
Fingers
Hopefully,
crossed.
hopefully they
Fingers
took.
crossed.
Yeah. hopefully they took that away and are actually fixing it. So
Yes.
I've been hearing of a lot. I know I was telling my parents last week. It's like some of those vehicles are older than I am,
Yes,
and
they are.
it's just, I mean, they're trying to extend that long life vehicle, but I don't think they foresaw that. I don't know. We'd be what they're built in like 1986, so we got like 40-year-old vehicles that we're just running down the street with. But
Yep.
it's pretty crazy. But so just briefly, I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit more again about that congressional hearing the other day, and there was one key piece that I also forgot to mention with the David Steiner and Congress, and it was that they were talking about the election mailer stuff. Have you gotten to watch it still yet, Josh, or just parts?
Um, I watched the probably the last half of it. I didn't watch from the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Um, I think you sent me a link and I popped in at that point
Yeah, to
till
just
the
watch
end.
some of it. Well,
Yeah.
there was like a executive order that President Trump signed a while back about election mail, and the big question mark has been what the Postal Service is going to do to comply with it. And then there was a federal judge like shot it down, but so there's still question marks though what the Postal Service is going to do. And in my opinion, and this is my opinion, we that work at the post office are just the delivery people. We're not election judges. We're not. It's it's. I understand that there's the integrity of the postal service and delivering things to people, but honestly, like my state is 100% mail-in voting, and if we lose mail-in voting, like that's the highest volume DPS that I typically have every single year. So my it would harm my evaluation, and I know it would harm a bunch of people in my state. And in all honesty, like I don't know. I've seen the mail-in voting. I understand that there's some skeptical people out there in the world, but like I don't. We're just the delivery people, and I don't understand why we are now like being put in the middle of it. You know what I mean? Do you share my sentiment, Josh?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's something that if I get it to deliver or picked up out of a mailbox, it's going to where the appropriate location. That's my feeling on that.
Yeah, and honestly, like if it's addressed to the people at that house, now, there's some things that we kind of question, and I understand that, but like, I don't know why we're put in the middle of it when it's going to put more time and energy and money on the postal service. And like, I'm sorry, what's the RX scan for me to verify that you're an eligible voter when I'm collecting a piece of outgoing mail, Like, does it have a stamp on it? Okay. Like, when it gets to the destination, I know, in my state, there's verification processes that they have. And I know
Right.
people that have personally gone and observed, and there's election judges, and there's those sorts of things. So we shouldn't be involved in that bit of it. So
Right.
I had forgotten to say that the other day, and I re listened to that episode and went, oh yeah, there was the election stuff, and we're just the messenger people. But um,
Yep.
so the thing that I wanted to talk about tonight is the order of consideration, and it's Article 30.2 is the big surrounding con- contractual language that the order of consideration was based off of. Now, I think there's been episodes in the past about the order of consideration, and I don't know if it was you that did one, Josh. I don't think we've done one, have we? It might have been in
No.
James and Bill and it with Kristen and them. But
Yeah, I
but
don't remember if I was on when we did it. It's been a while though,
yeah.
I want to say.
Well, I've seen a lot of, I don't know. It's like flavor of the week, I guess. There's a lot of questions that pop up in a couple different places. Ooh, I just thought of something else that I wanted to bring up, but I'll bring it up at the end. But the order of consideration is how management is supposed to be covering routes when a regular rule carrier is absent. Now, the thing that I want to say before we get into what the order of consideration says and states is that your office, no matter where you are, wherever you're at in any of the 10,600 rural route offices in the entire country, your office should have a seniority list posted somewhere visible on a board in a locked cabinet in your office. And if your office does not have one of those, you should probably call your union steward. You should actually ask management. And then if management does not want to provide your office with a seniority list, then you most likely are probably going to be going down the grievance path. But it's very important for you to always make sure that your office has a seniority list. If you are an RCA or a PTF, this is also very important for you to know where you are at in seniority. You know, I'm in, what is it? How many, I have like 63 roll routes in my office. We have 2 stations, and our seniority is merged together because we are under one postmaster. And I know Josh can speak to his too, but do your subs and do your leave replacements know where they stand in seniority?
Probably not, because and it's. I know the union has been trying to get a seniority list. There was back in 2010, somewhere between 2010 and 12, we had they put a freeze on conversion to the FSS, and ever since then, since they lifted the freeze, they're depending on where they pull the seniority list from, it's either messed up. And when I say messed up, meaning myself, for example, it has my hire date as my seniority, not my conversion date. And then on another list that they on another place that they pulled it, it has everybody combined,
Okay.
regulars, PTFs, and subs, not separated.
Well, and
So
there is still, I mean,
very,
it, I understand like that they had done that, but that was 16 years ago. And
yeah,
so
and
as
it
that
and they
as
still can't. HRSC has the correct and most up to date, but they can't, for some reason, they can't get it on paper with each classification separate.
well, anyways, I mean, I think then, you know, there's your office is a little bit of a, I guess, an anomaly, I want to say, because of
Yes,
your so
that's the only way we
but
can
the
put it.
people that we're talking to on a general scale here, regardless of these things, you know, management is obligated, it is in our contract that they are supposed to post a updated seniority list. And in the new recent contract, every time that seniority list changes, they're supposed to be sending it to the district representative. And I can
Yes.
guarantee you they're probably not doing that, especially in your office. But, you know, there's a
Well,
lot of different things that I know factor into it. There's office seniority, there, like if you had people who had transferred in. But my main reason for bringing this up is especially for if you are an RCA or a PTF, you should know what your seniority is, because that could be your path to being a career carrier, you know. So
yes.
you might have a route that's supposed to be coming up for bid, but the main reason I'm bringing it up in this scenario is because part of the order of consideration and the way that they are scheduling routes is semi-dependent upon seniority. And, you know, there's your primary is what comes into play first and foremost, but there could also be seniority things that could happen. And so if you don't even know where you stand in seniority, you know, that could be a problem. And, you know, if you're an RCA who's only, you know, maybe working 1 or 2 days a week, which it could, you're in a good office, or maybe, I don't know, depends on your circumstances. You may not realize that you are entitled to some more work and want that work. So if your management is not providing you with the most current seniority list, and I'm speaking to you here too, Josh, regardless of, there is ways for them to see when people converted, and there is also ways for people to see when they had started also. So there's two different things there. If and then there's other, circumstances that if you were hired with another group of RCAs, there's different tiebreaker things for your seniority there, and it's very important to ensure, so you're not getting screwed over in the end here. But so the first thing in the order of consideration is a union document that was created, but management does also use it. I think they have their own version of it, which I don't necessarily like as much as this one does. But this one, at the order of consideration, if you go onto the union website, go into the steward reference guide and go to O, and it's called order of consideration. And you can go down there and find it. And I think we have it printed on our union board. It's just, it's easier. I'm more of a visual person, so I like seeing, like, okay, we did this step, okay, or management did this step, okay, now this is where I would be. And I became very familiarized with it as an RCA, because the moment that management wasn't scheduling it to Article 30.2 in the order of consideration, then I would file grievances on it. Now, the first thing that you're supposed to be scheduled on is your primary. Now, your primary route is your home base. Typically, if you're a newer RCA, that's where you were trained on, and unless you've gotten offered another primary, hence why the seniority matters. Your primary is where is your home base, where you would be scheduled. So if you are a PTF is entitled to have 2 to 5 K routes as their primary. Now, you should also know when if your primary is a HJ or K, especially if you're a PTF too, and then knowing when their relief days are. So, let's say I'm a PTF and I have Rural Route 2 and their relief day is Saturday, and I have Rural Route 3 and their relief day is Monday. So every Saturday and Monday, I know I'm going to be on my primaries. So the first step of the order of consideration, primary assigned leave replacement, entitled to weekly evaluated hours when covering a route for a full week, may only be replaced to avoid overtime or additional overtime, and that's Article 30.2.0. When covering the route for the entire week, they may be required and or requested to take a relief day on J or K routes. The relief day is not necessarily the same as the regular carriers, and that is Article 30.2.h. When a leave replacement is being scheduled on a day-by-day basis, the primary substitute RCA or RCR must be scheduled for work on their primary assignment if available, even if this results in compensation at the overtime rate, and that is from M84 pre-arbitration settlement from March of 2005. So, let's say that I was off of work. Like I said, I had a call in yesterday and today. My sub was off, and they have actually called him in because he was available. If, let's say that you're like I said, you're a PTF, and, Saturday, like I said, I'm using the scenario of Saturday and Monday are the 2 days that I have on my primary. If I'm on vacation, I'm still supposed to work. If Rural Route 3, my Monday one, is on vacation on Saturday, I would still be covering my original primary for Saturday. Now, if during the rest of the week, I took leave, I would still or Rural Route 3 took leave, and then you would be on your primary on those other days, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But you're not entitled to overtime, but there shouldn't be other subs on there in those events. The only time that another sub would be scheduled on it would be that Saturday because I'm on my other primary. Does that make sense?
That does.
Okay. Did I say it I'm trying to think if in a confusing way. I wish I could. This is audio media, and like I said, I'm such a visual person. I'm like, even with my hand gestures right now, I'm like doing like little blops of, okay, Meow is on Rural Route 2 on Saturday. Oh, but Rural Route 3 has leave, so then another sub one would end up working that. And then on Monday, I would work Rural Route 3. Tuesday, I would work Rural Route 3. So that's the event with that. Just because, I know there's probably going to be some regular carriers who are listening to this too. Just because you have a sub doesn't necessarily mean that you are always entitled to have your leave approved. It's the subs are kind of for the office, and I think when we could go into an Article 10 thing about leave. You try and take leave when subs are available, and there's those sorts of things. And I think it's easier to complete that in smaller offices. But and I think that's one of the biggest things that people get a little bit frustrated with PTFs is because they are your sub, but there's also going to be, they could have 2 to 5K routes. So kind of keep that in mind. There's different provisions for leave, but if a sub is available and they not necessarily your sub, then that's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down and another issue. In a few minutes, I will be, dude. So after that, then there is the second part of it. If a primary assigned leave replacement is not available, the primary leave replacement is not available, management may assign an available part-time flexible rural carrier PTF before assigning the second or third leave replacement on the matrix. And that's Article 30.2.d. 30.2.d.2, and then another arbitration settlement from March of 2005. So next to your seniority list, management should also have a matrix that shows what your primary route is if you're an RCA, and then your secondary and your tertiary. And then if you're a PTF, management should have your PTF string on that list. So it'll show like the easiest way that I think that management should put it is the order of the week. Like in this scenario, we were doing Meow is assigned Rural Route 2 and 3. And so it'd be like 2 is on Saturday, 3 is on Monday. And so it would show 2 and 3, unless it was the opposite way. So like as the days of the week, just so you know, like that's your home base for the week. So if you have a secondary or a tertiary as a RCA, management can bypass that and schedule a PTF to give the PTF the hours. And typically the PTFs have higher seniority over the RCAs. So if there is no other PTF to work that route, then you're going to move down. They're moving down to number 3. And they're going to assign the leave replacement in the secondary spot on the matrix. And there's no entitlement to overtime. And then they have pre-arbitration settlement from 2005. So an RCA whose secondary is that route. So like in the scenario, I said Rural Route 3 took leave. So Saturday, the secondary for my PTF, my primary gets scheduled on there. And then if the secondary person is not available, or like let's say maybe they're on their primary, then you would assign the leave replacement in the tertiary or the third spot on the matrix. And again, no entitlement to overtime with that. So it's very important that management has that matrix posted, because if management is not following this order of consideration and you were scheduled off and they scheduled somebody else, that's a problem. So then underneath of that, it would be what were you gonna say, Josh?
I just wanted to interject real quick. For subs, RCA, PTF, there is no guarantee of overtime. However, on your primary route for RCAs, PTFs also, your primary route or routes, you are entitled to the evaluation. So if your regular takes off for a week and it's a 45K, you are entitled to up to 45 hours in the 5 days. If they let you work the 6th day, that's just a bonus. But they can't pull you off the route if you're staying under evaluation for a week.
Yes.
Anything other than your primary route, they can hold you to the 40-hour.
Yeah, and sometimes, there's going to be, I've seen it where management tried to manage the hours and keep them under that 40, which was kind of nice, but then towards the end of the week they gave up and it became a free-for-all. So
Yeah.
if management's trying to manage it, then that's fine, but they have to be consistent with everyone. They can't just allow, everybody at the end willy-nilly, because then, sometimes some stewards will say wait till the end of the week to file a grievance on some of these scenarios, just to see where you would land in terms of hours, because, PTFs and RCAs, if they go over 40 hours and they're in overtime and they're not getting that eval time anymore. But if you stayed under 40 and you stayed under your primaries evaluations and you had green card time, you potentially could be kind of screwing yourself a little bit there too. So it's kind of a hit and miss thing. So then let's say that there is not the primary, the primary carrier, the any of the PTFs, the secondary and tertiary are unavailable. Then management can go to number 5 here, and it says assign by seniority another qualified substitute RCA or RCR in that delivery unit. Qualified means having received training or been utilized on the route, and then no entitlement to overtime again in this. So any of the other subs that are qualified, meaning, they're not like injured or on, that's usually the only scenarios, like if they're injured or if they've
injured, already on the schedule, injured, on leave.
Yeah. So that
are the 3 reasons you would not be scheduled, or
yes.
that you're unavailable.
Yes. So then, and this is typically like, where mine and Josh's offices will kind of come into play. And it's number 6, and it says assign any other leave replacement in the office. And that's Article 30.2.d.4. And that's meaning, like I have 2 stations. They could be using somebody from another office that's not being utilized anywhere else on their, and then they would be scheduled. And management can also, a trained ARC, meaning that they went through the academy, may be utilized on Saturdays only. And that's per the ARC implementation instructions. So they can use ARCs for assistance during the week since COVID, but the only day that an ARC can touch physical mail is Saturday. So
yes,
that is something that could happen there. And then number 7, which is probably the only part of the order consideration that I do not like, but it is here. Management may, on some occasions, split a route or schedule an RCA to serve a regular route and an auxiliary route. Note, the NRLCA position is that the term on some occasions does not include scheduling multiple assignments or splitting routes on a repeated or ongoing basis. Except in emergency situations, management must not schedule a leave replacement to serve on 2 full assignments or 1 full assignment and 1 or more partial assignments in a single day if the evaluations of these assignments total 12 hours or more. And that is based off of a step 4 settlement from April 24th of 2002 and the Wilson letter from September 1st, 2000. So
Yeah, my just arm's cousin.
I'm that arm's cousin. Okay. Thanks, dude. So management could schedule somebody, like my office has a 2-hour baby ox route. And we have some low H routes. So they could, if we had no subs available, possibly schedule, one of the subs to do both of those things, but not on a repeated basis, If it's consistent, then or if they're doing it all the time or they're constantly splitting and they're subs sitting at home, then there's some problems there. Which I don't agree with. And that's where some stuff gets a little bit murky there too. And then after that, this one does not have that. Sorry, hold on 1 second. Order.
Okay.
I was looking at a different order of consideration that doesn't have the this one was missing. So
Was it missing or older?
it was an older one. It was an old one that I had.
Which is at the end, not at this location.
Yeah.
Where it moved.
So
That moved.
so
I'll let you read it and then I'll.
Okay. If no other leave replacements in the office are available, the employer may schedule a leave replacement from another office before selecting a regular rule carrier to work in accordance with Article 8.5. If a leave replacement is scheduled to case and carry a regular rule route in his or her assigned office, the leave replacement is considered unavailable to work in another office, and that is Article 30.2.d.5.
Okay, this is where that 50-mile rule came into play. This provision has always been in the contract, but it was always at the very end, up until, was it 2 contracts ago? When they moved it up to before, saying that they may do that before bringing in regulars off the RDWL or volunteers.
Yeah, it was changed to say, it used to just be the employer may schedule a leave replacement from another office before. And then they added, this is a newer thing that was added.
Right. But it was a couple contracts ago. It was before that. It was actually after
I'm not
bringing
sure.
in a regular. No, I'm telling you. Because whenever everyone got up in arms about they can make me go 50 miles now,
I don't think it was I think that part of it was at the very tail end, which is like in emergencies, any qualified employee. It was always kind of there. But I think the issue is that a lot of people were farming to other offices and not being forced. And I think, especially us as rule carriers, we like to be to suggest it versus us being told bottom line you're going.
Right.
So but I want to repeat this again because this was an issue a few years ago here. If a leave replacement is scheduled to case and carry a regular rule route in his or her assigned office, leave replacement is considered unavailable to work in another office. And that's Article 30.2.d.5. So if you're on an ox route in another office, and let's say my 2-hour baby ox route, management can make you go to another office within 50 miles as the crow flies to work there and do this. So there is some people who are that I've heard very varying things on this that I personally tried to put in resolutions to changes, and there's been other people who have shot it down because they want to allow people to still get hours, especially in those smaller offices that don't, or offices that are fully staffed. But also, the other part of this is that management should be, when they're disapproving leave for people, but then they were able to pull in all these other RCAs from another office at one point. There's some wiggle room there where it's like, okay, you denied my leave, but then you had 5 RCAs come from this other office over here. So why are you using that and then not approving leave? So there's kind of a balancing game upon, that the managers need to do to, they could figure it out. They just gotta, it's a puzzle.
Yeah.
Anything else you
Well,
want to
I
add to
know.
that part?
Well, I would say just in that regards, I know whenever there's denied leave, if someone files one of the ADRs, his first question would be, "Let me see your schedule for however far out it was, and let me see your correspondence with other offices for you to try and get coverage."
Yeah, because I mean, and typically, lately here, my office is actually the one who's been getting assistance from a few other ones. But there was a point in time where, like, we had like 45 RCAs. It was insane. And they were sending them to an office that was like 45 miles away, round trip, or not round trip, one way. And they were
Right.
raging. And we, like, I guess, sacrificed subs to it because the other office treated them really badly. And, they used to try and say, we're only going to send RCAs within our POOM group. And that doesn't matter in this. That shouldn't be the gold standard here, because there's offices and stations that are closer to my office that aren't in my POOM group, so management can
And
figure out a way to make it work.
yes.
So then after that is actually, that's when the split thing would happen. And then after that, then we're going to go to select a regular carrier to work in accordance with Article 8.5. Now, that's the overtime list. And the first thing that you're going to, so we've maxed out. We've gone through, we've exhausted all the subs. And the other thing that I hear a lot of that happens is that management tries to limit how many days in a row they can work. And that's fine and dandy, but if you're denying people leave for that, like, that's not going to work either, But once you get to this, then you would select carriers on the relief day work list in order of seniority on a rotating basis to work on their relief day. Carriers on the relief day work list are played one of 3 ways at their option, and that's the DACA R, DACA 3, or the DACA 5. And DACA 5 is typically what a lot of them do because it's time and a half. And DACA 3 is the one with the X day. And we've gone over all the DACA codes before. So,
Well, I just want to. Well, both the R and the 3 are an X day.
yeah.
Real quick, I just want to throw it out there. The main difference is the DACA 3, you get a half a day's pay, and management can schedule the DACA R, you get 0 pay, and you can mutually agree with management when you take it.
So if you're not on the relief day work list, then you're going to management goes down to option B, which if the need exists, the employer will accept volunteers from regular carriers not on the list before requiring regulars not on the list to work their relief day. Such requirement will be made by juniority, and that is Article 8.5.A.2. So, and they sometimes start mandating. This is like the term mandate comes into play here. If you know, like, I don't know if there's management that listen to this. If you know, like, there's somebody who's not on the overtime list and they usually will come in for you, like, just call them and ask them if they want to work, and then
Yep.
if that's the
Well,
case, they're volunteer.
Right. Well, it's volunteers by seniority down.
Yes. So if you have
And then,
multiple
and
ones,
then they mandate from the bottom up.
yes. Yes, but I'm talking about the ones not on the relief day work list, but they're also just there's like a you're in I don't know, I want to call it purgatory where you're not on the relief day work list, but you want to work sometimes, and
Right.
that's where they would do it. But typically I don't think there's that many of them, but it would again. So after that, then you're going to go. So if the need exists, the employer will accept volunteers, and then that are not on the relief day work list, and then requiring and mandating they would do so by juniority. If you're in a larger office, I mean, even in the smaller ones too. If you're in a larger, even in the smaller offices, management should have like a days off by seniority chart. It's really useful. Like I wish it was like a required document to management so that you can look and see like, oh, okay, on Monday I have 4 regulars that are off for their K day, and you have it listed by seniority so that when management's mandating people, or you have carriers who are thinking it's a grievance, then at least you can visually see it. You know what I mean? My office has done that, and like when I was a steward, I made one for myself so that I had it just so I can visually look at it and go, this is the seniority list. Here's that. Hence again why the
Yeah.
seniority list matters. Um, so then after that, then they would require a regular carrier not on the relief day work list. This is done by juniority and does not rotate. So like the relief day work list, the relief day work list rotates depending on the need that week. If the management has nobody on there and they're having to mandate every week, it will always be the junior person up every single week, depending on the need, and the
If
situation
you're
that
the
arises.
junior, if you're the junior regular and you are very, very, very short on stuff, might as well just get on the list.
Yeah. Because you can go on the list only the 2 times a year, but you can come off of the list as long as you give management something in
Anytime.
writing any time of the year. But you can only go
Yeah.
on and what is it, 3 weeks prior to the first full pay period in May, and 3 weeks prior to the beginning of the guarantee year.
Yep. And it's posted for 2 weeks. 2
So
of those 3 weeks.
if you
And with
if
that,
oh you,
I'm sorry. The thought is going.
oh
Oh
that
yeah.
if
I'm gonna say yeah. Because if you're not on the list, pay wise, your only option is the DACA code 3, which is a half a day's pay and an X day that management can schedule
yep,
within 12 weeks. And actually, they're supposed to schedule it when they require you to come in.
yeah. So the other provision that's in here too in this big square is any regular carrier may be bypassed from working a relief day if the hours worked would cause them to exceed 2080 hours for the guarantee year or 56 hours for the week, which is Article 8.5.c. So the only way for management to bypass a regular carrier, I'm almost done, sir, is regular carriers with annual leave, sick leave, or an X day scheduled adjacent to their relief day will not be required to work their relief day, and that is Article 8.5.A.3. I used to know a few regular carriers who would purposely put in leave around their relief day so that they would always be bypassed. So kind of keep that in mind. And I told you that this is more of an emphasis for the subs and the PTFs. And, if you're in an office that like you see that like you guys are splitting a bunch of routes, this is part of what management has and can utilize to stop the bleeding of how many routes you're splitting. So kind of remember that. Now, the next part of this I'm going to add in here is then you would utilize the MOU that was signed for regulars assisting on other routes. So management needs to exhaust the order of consideration until this point and call all the regulars that are on their overtime list, Even if you have a couple regulars who might come in, volunteer to come in, like just make the attempt, because sometimes like let's say you're down like 4 routes, you never know, like some regular might come in, like you just give
Yep.
them the chance, like just don't be like management, don't be lazy, like just make the attempt to call people in, and you might have some stuff covered. Some of them even like won't call the subs, and like that's worse. Like they're entitled to it over regular sometimes, or most of the time, almost all the time. So
Uh, I'd say that on a down route, clubs in theory would be more so than the regulars because
yeah,
overtime is not
but
guaranteed.
but within still the provisions of what I said, where if you're down 4 routes and you have a sub that's on a 9-hour route and you're splitting 4 other routes,
Yeah,
the sub's not going to be able to do it. The sub's
right.
going to
No,
do what they
yeah,
can. They, even if you give them half of another route, you're maxed. You're already over
yeah,
12 hours. So
right. Depending
there
on how
is,
many subs you have.
yeah, and which scenario you have going on that day. I think us in larger offices kind of see those things happen a little bit more than some of the smaller ones. The smaller ones, a lot of the time, just try and use whoever's there at the moment. But at this point is when you would utilize the MOU and volunteer regulars who want to assist on other routes. That's the moment you would do it. Once you've exhausted to this point. Now, if you're a regular carrier who is assisting on another route, you have to have finished your route completely before you start touching another route. And I know there's a lot of people who like to take chunks of routes with them, but you're harming your breadcrumbs. There's a lot of other problems that could be arose from this. You could be harming the other routes evaluation. There's a lot. So the MOU is very specific that says that you need to be finished with your route first before you touch another route. A route is a road, yeah. It is a neighborhood. Like Sam's route. Yeah, we do live on Sam's route. And Sam's route is next to Rural Route 40. Rural Route 40 goes over that way, on that road over there. But we're not going to take Rural Route 40 and Rural Route 7 at the same time. We're going to finish Rural Route 7 first, and then if we have to split Rural Route 40, then I would come back to the office to return to DU time or end of shift time, complete all that, finish that, then I would take that. And you still need to be doing all the applicable art scans. When I finish my route, yeah, I have done my route, and then I have gone and I've helped on Rural Route 7, which is our route that we live on. Yeah. Yeah, I will. Um, so, yeah. So in that scenario, like I said, make sure that you're done with your route. Hey, stop doing that, please. And then at the very end here, it says, in emergencies, any other qualified employee may be assigned, which is Article 30.2.6. Sorry, 30.2.d.6. And that's like if management's using CCAs or management's having other. Yes, dude. I'm almost done, sir. Okay. Can you go in the living room? 61 seconds. So that would be like when management would be assisting on routes. I've seen it. One of my postmasters one time while I was at a conference, she was delivering Route 40 and she couldn't find the first box, and it was kind of hilarious to me. But I was like, hey man, she stepped it up.
She's trying.
Yeah, she at least and they had called everybody in at that point. So that was kind of a good little piece to that there too. The other thing I wanted to add, because I've noticed a lot of this lately too, and I've had it questioned to me. So that's the order of consideration maxed out. And I think management goes, we're down a route, and they panic, but you have a lot of options here before you get to management delivering. you know? So utilize, like, familiarize yourself with the order of consideration, as a regular, as an RCA, as a PTF, as an ARC, like, who maybe you are an ARC and you're going to become an RCA, you know? It's important for you to make sure that you know that management is exhausting it. I know I'm not saying for you to manage it for them, but it's important so that you know if management didn't call you in, that's a problem. And there's been times where like I was only scheduled like maybe 20 hours in a week as a sub, and my tertiary was down and they didn't call me in. And they had other people who were working over 40 hours, and it was like, why didn't you call me in? And I filed a grievance and got paid for it. So making sure that the seniority list, the matrix is up and all of that. Now, the other part that I wanted to add, like I was saying, that I keep getting questioned about recently, and I'm trying to pull it back up. Where did it go? If you are a sub, and I know I said if you're working in excess of 12 hours or more, but there is also Article 30.2.q and its additional duties. Leave replacements, and it does not specify RCA or PTF. It specifically says leave replacements may be required to perform duties in addition to their route assignments, such as auxiliary assistance on other routes, priority mail, express duties, etc. When performing additional duties, the leave replacement will receive compensation at the hourly rate in addition to the daily evaluated hours for the assigned route. So you come back, management wants you to go help route such and such. That is language that allows management to send you out to go help. But if it is a safety issue, that's another story. And if you're working in excess of over 12 hours, that's also another story. But that is your decision in those regards. But that is still in there. I know in the past, like, there's been people who don't want to go help, and that could become a contentious subject for some subs. But I've also seen it where there are subs who are getting done with routes really quickly and having that additional green card time and staying under 40 hours, you know, that's a little bit of a sweet spot. So it just depends on your scenario. But I just wanted to make sure to read that language because unfortunately, like, especially when you're done, but I that's partly why I coined the term hashtag RCA life, because you get back and you're going to get sent back out. And in all honesty, like, I mean, it's on management for them having to answer for their ad hoc time and their hours that they're utilizing and those sorts of things too, but that's a whole nother story. What else would you like to add on the order of consideration, Josh?
I think you've pretty much covered everything. I don't think there's anything else that I can think of at this time.
I know there's PTF confusion. So I think that's partly why I wanted to cover that part of it. But, you know, I think most of the PTFs have like 3K routes. Like, that's like the sweet spot, like 2 or 3. If they have like 5, that's rough. So I think most of them, I wish there could be something, because you're not really allowing
if they have 5 routes and they're not being used elsewhere.
Yeah, but what if one of those 5 routes takes leave? You don't really I mean, it's good for the PTF, but it's not good for the regular, like for the consistency of the route, you know?
Right. Well, I'm not going to disagree with you on that one.
But I mean, you know, at one point we had like 10 PTFs. It was awesome. But they were still getting hours. Like, it wasn't like, you know, there's about 5,000 PTFs in the entire country right now. And I remember, you know, like, me being an RCA, we didn't have PTFs. And so a lot of them, like, I've had to learn it as we were going in these scenarios that were coming up. But ultimately, like, the PTFs hold the seniority, but it just gets confusing when one of your primaries takes leave. And some of the time, some managers will only schedule them the whole week on one of their primaries. And they're still supposed to be working their string. So, and then, I wish there was some working rules
Well,
for, I wish there was working rules
I,
that showed if you have like a PTF, like two of your routes are on leave and you're not on your string, and which one of the two should you be scheduled on? And I would argue the one that's higher evaluated. But that's
I
the
agree with you also, but I am not going to disagree with you on that the PTF should be covering the lead on their strings. However, I've also been told from both sides that the PTF is entitled to the total evaluation of their string.
mm, yeah, but
So
then
if you're on a,
but if there is
if they
nobody else
haven't,
available.
right, um, I'm not going to just, like I said, I'm not going to disagree with you. I agree with you that they should be the one covering the route because they know it. They're listed as the primary for that route. I'm just, I'm just saying, if let's say they have 2K routes and they're both 45Ks, that's 18 hour, a minimum of 18 hours a week that that they should be guaranteed. They can't put them on a 40K, and then only get 8 hours of losing,
Yeah, I get what you're
a
saying.
couple hours. They're losing 2 hours of pay, which they're entitled to.
Yeah, but there's still like, I know it has been a minute, dude. It has not been 1 hour. But Article 30.2 doesn't specify it as RCA. You know what I mean? Like there's certain
Right.
parts of it
It's
that
just
do,
lead
and there's
replacement.
yeah. I did promise,
And
dude. My kids. Okay, baby. Okay. 61 seconds, he says, is 1 minute. But I think that there's um yeah, part-time flexible rural carriers may be assigned on the primary leave replacement of more than one regular route. And when you're um, unavailability of a leave replacement, then it goes along those lines for scheduling. And your primary, if you are a PTF, you are scheduled on that, and so you are. There's argument, I think, on both sides of it in what you were saying. But
right.
typically, like the manager should just be like it's easier on them, especially if they have somebody who knows the route. I would assume a PTF would. The regular is going to be content because it's somebody who knows the route. There's consistency with the scans. There's a lot of different things that could come into play. But
Right.
yeah, there's a whole bunch of that. So, but anything. Oh,
Right.
oh, one
And
of.
if
Oh,
you're
yes.
on leave as a regular, you know what to expect when you get back. We'll leave it at that. Where
Yeah,
with they just go eeny, miny, mo, and random pick 5 different RCAs to cover your route that week.
yeah.
You don't know what you're getting. Who knows what you're walking into.
Well, yeah, and if management has made sure that their matrix is correct, their seniority is correct, they have this template where all you're doing when you're making your schedule is putting in the people who are on leave. Like I don't
Yep.
understand why sometimes they make it harder than it really is, But
Well, that's a whole nother conversation,
yeah, yes it
which we
is.
can have on another night.
Yes. So, yes, baby. Yep, I am almost done, sir. My kid is he's over it for me. But yep,
Oh,
one more minute, sir.
he
But
understands.
he does.
Okay.
61. So the last thing I just wanted to briefly touch on too is I've been seeing horror stories on the internet, and this was honest, like I got kind of choked up seeing this. Um Make sure you're mapping your route, guys. When we did that episode about the new mapping thing, my number one fear was that management was going to go in there and those people that have high and low option, management was going to toggle it to low. And it's happening. So it doesn't matter, all routes. Yes, dude, go back out there, please. Please make sure you're mapping your routes. Don't let management go
Yes.
in there without you. Like, you need to be
Yes.
present. You need to be present for the entire process of it. And what was the other scenario I saw the other day too that happened? There was like two different people that their route, like management did an adjustment and like their route disappeared. They completely like dissolved their
Oh,
route on paper.
I didn't hear that
There's
one.
been like two of them that I've seen, and I'm like, how does that happen? So,
Yeah.
um, that's
Wow.
yeah, and that I think one of them I told them I was like, you management needs to be manually counting all of your stuff so that when the dispute process comes along, then that data can get added in there. But that's a
Yep.
whole plethora of problems. But bottom line is, make sure you're mapping, guys. Please don't let them go in there without you. I do not want to hear of another person who their high-low option was taken away because management went in there without you. I know that you don't want to do it. I understand that, but like, don't allow them to do that and screw you over like that. So, but
Yep. And if they want to allow you the time to do it, you might need to have a conversation and motivate them by paper.
go. Yes. Yeah, you're gonna have to. Like, it's just it's so concerning to me. Like, I don't want to watch those routes that are right there at that cusp of the next base, like the lower base hour. Like, management goes in there and takes away one thing, and it lowered
Yeah.
you that minute.
Yep.
So just
Yep.
be diligent. Like, it's something that we're supposed to be doing every single month. Don't give management that power. Like, please, please. So, but I think that is it.
After, yep. After that initial mapping, in theory, unless you know you have changes, it should take you what, with the time for LTM to download, 20, 25 minutes total.
Yeah, and I mean, I double check. There's certain months I check a couple different things. If you have growth, it's going to take you a little bit longer because, like, I'm slowly plotting things as I go. But just like on a Wednesday, like we're recording this on a Tuesday, on your lower mail volume days, like, ask management to sit down and do the mapping with you. Like, the days when like your volume's lower and you have an opportunity, like, it's your pay. So, but
Yep.
I think that is it. My child is
That.
is needing me, so I think we're gonna wrap this
All right.
up. So, what
Yep.
closing,
Hy-
Josh?
hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Um, don't get overwhelmed. If you do, take a step back, take a deep breath, and step back in. And have a good week, man.
Well, thank you, Josh. I know. Thank you guys for bearing with us and stuff too. And like I said, like, I'm here at home with my child right now, and he is he really it really is a blessing. I know he's needy sometimes, but it's summertime, and even there's days where he's like, "Don't go to work, mama," and I usually try and hurry so I can get home to be with him. So thank you for being patient with him too. I think I had somebody the other day come up to me that listened to one of the more recent episodes and said my kid was the star of the episode. I was like, thanks. So, but again, I'll reiterate again that, there's the EAP program. Anybody in your household can call them if you're experiencing any, sort of trouble, issues. If you just need to talk to somebody who's outside of the Postal Service, their phone number is 1-800-327-4968. And you can also go on to uspseap.com and they will help you in anything that you need. But thank you guys, and I hope that this was helpful for you guys. And hopefully your managers are getting your seniority lists and scheduling you all correctly. Haha, but hopefully they are. We're gonna put it in the universe that they all are. They're all scheduling everybody correctly. But
It's been manifested.
yeah, it's been manifested. We've spoken it into the universe. So, but have a good week, guys, and we will talk to you guys later.
Bye.